The stars and the legends came out to the University of Miami today. And guys, things are only going to get even busier in recruiting from here on out.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am your host, Alex Dono. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, including pregame and postgame for Miami Hurricanes football. And thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today on a Saturday. But we're not going to not talk about Legends Camp. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts, and we're available free on YouTube as well. So make sure you subscribe to our audio and video channels. And we are going to talk Legends Camp with a true legend in his own right. Mario Cristobal is also a Miami legend who's now the head coach of the team. And I love a couple of these Cristobal quotes here as he says, the U isn't back. It's just back to work. And Cristobal dropped this gem on Miami Faithful this morning. This is Legends Camp because it's not time for paradise yet. Oh, yeah. You remember the last few years, Mark Richt was the one who came up with the term Paradise Camp. Manny Diaz kept that going for a few years. Now, Mario Cristobal has renamed it Legends Camp. Here's a quick quote from Michael Irvin. I don't care about taking pictures with Ferraris. Work hard and buy your own Ferrari. So, am I getting this correct, Larry Bluestein, in my assessment as we are joined by a legend in his own right? Larry Bluestein, 560 WQAM, best recruiting analyst in the business. Blue, hearing what Cristobal had to say, Michael Irvin and others, they are really trying to remind people that if we're really going to get Miami back to where we need to be, it's about putting in the hard work. We're not going to call it paradise because it's not paradise yet. Everyone's got to be on the same page working. They want to really emphasize the blue collar aspects of this.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of a weird feeling because you and I have been to the paradise camps in the past, and they've been at night, and it was more of a party type of atmosphere. Everybody wanted to see one another, but today was kind of a coming out party because a lot of people came onto the campus for the first time who may not have had the opportunity to be there for a camp or for the 7-on-7s. It was one of those, it was workmanlike today. There was, a few pictures afterwards, a lot of the kids celebrating the fact that Mario Cristobal and his staff rolled out the welcome mat for some really, really good talent. Obviously, there's a lot of official visits today, and that comes later on, which is a good thing as well because you get more kids on campus. But this little Legends event was really geared to for the former players, guys to show up. And it really, really was impressive from that aspect. But on the field, you saw like 200 plus kids and they worked their tail off. I mean, it was nice and cool inside, but when they moved the action outside, everything heated up. The one-on-ones were good and competitive. The line camp was extremely competitive. So while there were no major stars, there were a lot of young kids who took, who will be those stars in the future and who will have those official visits coming up over the next few years. So I enjoyed it. Got an opportunity to see a lot of the former players, that I hadn't seen in a long time, and kind of set the table. And as you said, Mario Cristobal held his little press conference before the event, and he said some really wise things about what lies ahead for this program, and being like what you said was really perfect. They're not back, but they are back to work, and that's the whole thing. He reminded everybody. He goes, while our little group and our little fan base is consumed about being back, there's a lot of other programs around the country, especially in the ACC and especially in the Coastal Division, that are working their tails off. So they have to outwork everybody. And, I think that a consensus between the players that were on hand, the former players, and the current players who also mixed around, which I love that when, like Xavier Restrepo or, Tyler Van Dyke or so mingles around the crowd, mingles around the players, because that gives these guys, a reality check that, hey, next year after, I could be in that same position. And then those players who are current players look at, some of the guys like Martin Bibla or Brett Romberg or Lamar Thomas, or even Coach John Solinger, the fact that they could be in that situation one day. So it was kind of, as Mario Cristobal alluded to, it was a workmanlike day and befitting of what he and his staff are about.
Yeah, it's been the message from day one since he and his staff came in. Another quote from Cristobal today on how Miami's players are, approaching their summer workouts, which of course are going on now. He says, quote, "They know the foot's not coming off the gas." And so, and Larry made another great point in that, Paradise Camp, since Mark Rick started that, little tradition that lasted, about 6 years, 5-6 years, Paradise Camp was like a prime time event. Like it used to be, hey, you get out here 6-7 o'clock, you camp like under the lights. Now, Legends Camp is an early morning event. So let's talk about some of those former players in blue and some of those coaches out there. We mentioned Michael Irvin, Jeremy Shockey, who's not around as much as some other guys. He was very well publicized at Legends Camp today. A former Miami assistant coach, Coach Ed Orgeron, was there, and I even saw him leading some drills. So this was a pretty interesting turnout today.
Well, Ed's son is an analyst on the staff, so that could you could take that two ways. Either he's just there to support, or he may be one of those guys that Mario leans on towards the next couple of years, and rightfully so. I mean, he knows his stuff. He has a pretty good history with the University of Miami coaching here in the past. I mean, you had a chance to see Roscoe Parrish and Antrell Roll and guys like that, which were really neat. As I mentioned, Coach Don Solinger, who coached some of the finest running backs Miami's ever had. To see Sean Spence was great. One of the premier linebackers this program's had over the year. John Beeson is another one who I thought, this is, and remember, these guys are all stopping to take pictures, and I think it was really good. Tolbert Bain from the 80s, a lot of the parents kind of remembered him. Kenny Phillips was on hand. So we had some really good guys. Our friend, and Brian Monroe was out there. We had a chance to talk to Brian a little bit, about things going on. But, and Martin Bibla now has a kid who was at the camp. So he and
makes me feel old.
Yeah, it makes everybody feel old. And Brett Romberg, as we said, Brett's a very popular figure in the South Florida area still today. Lamar Thomas, who is never ending. I mean, this is a guy who, like Michael Irvin, is always, always on go. So it was great, and the whole thing is it was all designed, as I said, for the fans to see not only the talent that was on hand, but talent that is going on now. As I said, I saw quite a few current players, and then some of the past, which was a glory time, and what really put Miami on the map, and what really put the U on the map back in the 80s and the 90s, and a little bit early in the 2000s. So, yeah, it served its purpose. I mean, people came to see marquee kids, and obviously those kids are going to take center stage later on in the day when they get their official visits and the red carpet comes out.
Yeah, and I want to talk in a moment here as we're joined by Larry Blustein, hardest working recruiting analyst in the country, bar none, and South Florida media staple. You guys hear him every Monday on 560 WQAM on the South Florida High School Sports Show, which is part of the Odyssey family. I want to break down with Blue some of the guys who've been around today and in recent days who haven't been suiting up some of the real blue chippers that have been on official visits. I want to remind everyone, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. They got all sorts of futures for Miami Hurricanes football, over under 8.5, odds to win the ACC, odds for our guy Tyler Van Dyke to win the Heisman at about 30-1. You will find everything there in terms of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering info, including live betting, esports, and scores. And betonline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Betonline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. And it really is easy, guys. I'm on there every day. So check it out. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen every day. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. So, Blue, let's talk about some of the 5 and 4 stars who have been visiting over the past couple of days. Let me start with a couple of defensive guys first. Obviously, I would love to have both of them or either of them commit to Miami. 5-star cornerback Cormani McClain has been on campus. He's the top cornerback in the country in the class of 2023. 5-star safety, been on campus. Tell me your scouting reports on these players and where you think Miami could be in the mix for them.
Well, Cormani McClain's a kid that I saw kind of grow up when he was in 9th grade at Lake Gibson High School in Lakeland. Had a really, really good career so far. And then all of a sudden he made the switch to across town to Lakeland this year. New coaching staff at Lake Gibson. So he figured he'd kind of move on. Yeah, he's definitely one of those go-get type of guys. But, Miami's in the mix with a lot of people. And, it's not going to be a slam dunk. I think the consensus is that it's going to come down to where he fits in. If he goes to another school, where does he fit in there? I think here he comes and he gets on the field a lot quicker than a lot of places, and he gets a chance to learn. Miami arguably has 2 defensive back coaches that are amongst the best in the country. And then you have a guy who is on campus, and Roland Smith, who was a pretty fair DB himself. So you get a chance, and then they have some really, really good talent returning. And Guerrero's the same way. I mean, he's being pursued by everybody and anybody. I mean, and he's a big time kid. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But, Ray Joseph out of Miami Edison was a target. Obviously, he was expected to be there today. Malik Bryant is another kid who a lot of people have been looking at. What type of future does he have? Miami's definitely in the mix for him. Monroe Freeling is another kid that I know that Miami really, really likes. The Jackson Howard kid as well. He was supposed to be one of those guys. Jaden Bonsu, who I think that a lot of people think that Miami's got a legit shot. He's one of those really good football talents. And one of the 2 other guys that I think that Miami's got a shot at, but, again, they've got to have solid visits. They got to enjoy themselves. The Collins Akimpong.
Oh, is that how you say it?
I believe it's Akimpong.
And it's funny. I've been pronouncing it a certain way because and whenever I see a name like that, my first impulse is to panic. If anyone has seen this young man's name spelled out, I went and found like a YouTube video, not of him saying it, but of someone like on the local news saying it. And they said it Achampo, but I could be that just might have been them mispronouncing it.
Okay,
perpetuating the mispronunciation.
Well, it may be. Obviously, Samson Akonlola is another kid that a lot of people are looking at, and then Jalen Braxton, who is a big time talent. So there's like 6, 7, 8 type of kids that Miami's having on campus, for official visits. Obviously, we said early on they didn't get a chance to. Work out today. But so between the athletes that did work out, and Josiah Trader, 2025 kid from Miami Central, who can play on either side of the ball. He's a lethal wide receiver in the state championship game against Merritt Island. He played defense for 1 play, and that defensive 1 play was a 97-yard interception return for a touchdown. Jimmy Williams, an offensive lineman from American Heritage Plantation, was out there. Ezekiel Marcelin, who I think is the next great linebacker in South Florida from Miami Central, was another kid. And then you and I talk about somebody that we saw last year, somebody who started at quarterback as an 8th grader at Jacksonville Trinity Christian.
Colin Hurley.
Huge bloodlines down here. Grandfather was a coach at Miami Killian. Father was a coach at Miami Central, and that's Colin Hurley, and who's just a sophomore, going to be this year in the class of 2025. So that's what today was about, getting kids and giving kids an opportunity, and the younger kids, especially those kids who had an opportunity to work out, some spotlight. And Colin really was dazzling, and as I had an opportunity to watch him most of the morning and talk with his dad, who, like I said, I've known for a while, and I knew the ties to the South Florida area, which is a major plus, and the relationship with Frank Ponce, the quarterback coach of Miami, was major. So if he could come away with this young man, that's huge. That's huge.
All right, I'm going to ask Larry Bluestein now about the name everyone wants to hear about. So we are scheduled, Blue, 4 p.m. on what do they call it? CBS All Access on CBS Sports. He's going to be announcing his destination Sunday at 4 p.m. It's been a roller coaster following this young man's recruitment over the past several months, but 4-star, and listen, you could argue 5-star depending on which publication you look at. Jaden Rashada from Pittsburgh, California. He already pushed back his announcement once, was originally going to make it this past Saturday, a week ago at the time we record this, pushed it back 8 days, and in pushing it back 8 days, gave himself the opportunity to come to the University of Miami for an official visit, as he did late in the week. The Florida Gators fans thought they had it pretty much wrapped up last week. Now most of the crystal balls are going in Miami's direction for Jaden Rashada. This is a heck of a player. And Blue, the Hurricanes already landed a heck of a quarterback for the class of 2023 in Emory Williams, who you deserve, and I know you're a humble guy about this, but Larry Bluestein deserves a ton of the credit for getting his name and his tape out there a couple of years ago in Emory Williams. So he's already committed. And when Emory Williams committed, a lot of people thought, oh no, this means, Rashada's not going to come in this class and Dante Moore's not going to come. Miami settled for the 3-star guy. I never looked at it that way, Blue, because I think Rashada and Moore both knew Miami wanted to take 2 quarterbacks in that class. And, they're both such blue chippers. I don't think they're so concerned with what Emory Williams is doing. I think Jaden Rashada is only concerned about finding the best spot for him. So, Blue, what do you think happens tomorrow at 4 p.m.? Do you think he's going to utter the word Miami, or do you think someone else is going to be getting Jaden Rashada?
Well, you know what, before I answer that, getting back to Emory, the people and sometimes the fans are a little bit skeptical without knowing everything. And that's the thing, like Tyler Van Dyke. We settled for Tyler Van Dyke was a message that I remember that quite a few people said there were much better quarterbacks out there. And the University of Miami just settled for somebody who everybody really wasn't on. See, that's the thing. That's why I never buy into people who only watch film and don't get a chance to know all about the player. So in Emory Williams, they didn't settle on anybody. This is a kid just was underexposed and undervalued by a lot of people who never saw him. I mean, he's from Milton, Florida, which is really, it's in the Panhandle. It's not a very visible place. A lot of people don't go in that area, especially in spring, because if they do, they'll go to Pensacola and maybe see 1 or 2 or 3 players, but they don't get a chance to go to the Miltons and the Nicevilles and the Choctaws and, Panama City Mosleys and places like that, because it's just not, it's not a thing to do, because financially, they have a short period of time. They have a lot of ground to cover, and he was well overlooked. Now we'll take on Mr. Rashada, who, arguably as good as anybody in the country, makes every throw possible, strong arm, he's got some mobility, scours the field as well as anybody, solid arm strength. And I think Miami's got a really good shot at him because of the way right now especially when you have Coach Gaddis, who is willing to open this offense and favor everybody. Because remember, this is arguably the best running back room Miami's had in years. I mean, you got some really, really tremendous talent, on board, with the addition of Parrish, obviously, with two more healthy running backs. Hopefully they both stay healthy this year. So that gives them a running presence. Arguably one of the best tight end rooms right now, potentially, if everybody stays healthy, because we know Arroyo is a up and coming star. They just recruited 2 or 3 guys that will help. And then we have Will Mallory, because if Will Mallory plays up to his potential, he's as good as anybody. I mean, he's first round draft pick material if he stays healthy. I know it's a big if, but I mean, in the offense, they're going to target him. And then wide receivers. Miami needs to get wide receivers that are capable of taking over games. And I think that Rashada sees the potential that Miami has in the type of room that they have in the quarterback room, where he can come in and he'll compete. I mean, he'll compete because you figure that Van Dyke will be on his way out this year. So that still leaves some really capable talent, but he understands. And I think that they explained to him, listen, we have kids, but it's up to you. If you work hard and you show that you could, take the job, because look at Van Dyke. Nobody really was pulling for him. Everybody said, well, he's not good enough to start. Well, surprise, surprise. He was as good as anybody in the country and probably arguably the third best quarterback coming out this year. So I think he pulls the trigger, understands what he could get out of a Miami experience, the weather, the year-round opportunity to come in and compete and to work hard with a coach that when he was on the West Coast, he had an opportunity to see what Mario Cristobal was all about with Oregon. I mean, he was down in the Southern California area enough, playing SC and playing UCLA, that he got a chance to watch them on TV, see what Mario was all about. So I think it's a win-win. And obviously now they have a huge chip in Coach Gaddis, where you say, here's one of the best, if not the best, coordinators and assistant coaches in the country. And he proved it last year by getting the Broyles Award, claiming that. So, to answer your question, I think Miami's got a really legitimate shot.
I love to hear that. And just so everybody knows, we will have a special Locked On Canes episode tomorrow after the Rashada decision. And that's whether he picks Miami or not. If he doesn't pick Miami, we'll do a recap. It'll be really painful if he does pick Florida, although the fact that Billy Napier is like sending out open letters, basically apologizing for how crappy their recruit, it doesn't make me feel like he's too confident that Rashada is coming to Florida. But, if Rashada picks Miami or if he picks someone else, we're going to do a Sunday special tomorrow shortly after his announcement to talk about it. There was some rumor over the last 12 hours or so that he may push back his announcement again. It's my understanding that that's false, that he's going to do the announcement tomorrow. Blue, do you get the same feeling with Rashada? Because I did see like Mike Farrell Sports.com and a couple of others were saying he may postpone, but then I saw others come out and say, no, we talked to the father and the father says it's happening tomorrow. So I think it's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah,
Alex, I think the same thing. Once he gets that decision out of the way, he can concentrate on what's coming up and his season ahead. And, July is already here. The door closes with the NCAA on Wednesday, which brings to an end the recruiting cycle, up until the season starts. So they got all of July where there's not going to be any events held on, no visits will be able to, and no contact. So the college coaches and NCAA schools will take their vacations, evaluate what happened here during June. And so that's why I think he's going to get this out of the way, because if he doesn't, there'll be too much speculation. And, he'll have too much time, because remember, after Wednesday, he can't contact and he can't be contacted. So, I think he makes the decision. Why delay it? If he's sure of where, like you said, fresh on his mind. And I talked to John Beeson about that, because I think I relate that story about him. John Beeson was all set to go to Georgia as a running back. And all of a sudden, the last Saturday or last weekend before National Signing Day, the Hurricanes played it smart and just invited he and his mom. And that was it. Nobody else on the trip. They ate good dinners. They had an opportunity to sit down and talk. I think that this week, Frank Ponce, Coach Gaddis, and Mario were definitely all into what he wanted. Probably told them everything that he wanted to hear, and I think that'll reflect tomorrow.
All right, everyone, make sure you follow Larry Bluestein. Although, if you're listening to this or watching this, if you don't follow Blue already, what are you doing? But follow him on Twitter at Larry Bluestein and check him out Monday nights, right, Blue, on WQAM. It is the most informative high school sports show in the country. You're going to learn so much about recruiting and high school sports. So make sure you tune in to the South Florida High School Sports Show Monday nights on 560 WQAM and on the Odyssey app. And yeah, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. It's either going to be Rashada or no Rashada. We'll talk to you after his announcement tomorrow afternoon on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.